Did you know the materials Romans used to make mosaics was called tesserae? Tesserae was small pieces of stone, glass, and shards of pottery cut up into tile shapes and placed onto a surface to make mosaics. Tesserae was usually 1 square centimeter each. The mosaics often showed a variety of images, including harvest scenes, hunting scenes, gods, goddesses, and even gladiators. Their borders were usually of geometric shapes. Mosaics had many uses, including a durable walking surface and decoration. Mosaics were placed inside a room in the house based on their patterns. For example, the fish mosaics were in the bathroom, and the more ornate mosaics would be in the dining room. Mosaics were made in a workshop inside a frame, and then they were transferred to where they were supposed to be going.
Very good. 100 points. Alright, you're coming back, Flopper. Who knows about sculptures?
Yeah! 3 major Roman achievements were their sculptures, statues, and bas-reliefs. The sculptures and statues were generally made out of marble, stone, bronze, and clay. Statues were used to honor an individual and often showed heroes, generals, gods, goddesses, and emperors. Ever since the reign of Augustus, statues were made to honor the imperial family. Sculptors were generally despised, and their names were never put on the work of art, and no one ever knew who it was by. Portraiture was a dominant genre in Roman statue. However, their faces were never nearly as detailed as the rest of their bodies. Sometimes their eyes would only be circles. Statues were placed in a variety of locations, such as homes, gardens, villas, and public spaces like the public baths and the forum. Bas-relief is when images project from a flat background. Bas-reliefs were used to tell stories, represent crowds of people, show soldiers in battles, and depict landscapes.
Very good. Okay, so it's 200 to 400 to 500. This is next question is worth 200 points. So it could put you into the running for the win. Who knows about Roman music? Clover!
Roman music played an important role in the religious and civic activities of their culture. The lyre was the main stringed instrument in Rome. It had 2 arms fixed to a crossbar, which was attached to a sound box, which was usually made of wood or tortoiseshell. The cithara was another stringed instrument. The cithara had up to 11 strings attached to a broad wooden sound box. Percussion was also used often in Rome, such as pipes and cymbals, to accompany their praises of hymns to the gods. Wind instruments were the most common types of instruments in Rome. The tibia was an instrument which used reeds and was commonly made out of wood or ivory. The tibia is the equivalent to the clarinet or the oboe today. A flute is another wind instrument. The flute is played by blowing across a hole. Music was played on many occasions, such as religious ceremonies, festivals, theater, dinner parties, and even just for entertainment. Music was influenced by the Greeks and the Etruscans. However, it was not nearly as popular in Rome as it was in Greece because the Romans spoke Latin. Latin poetry was designed to be spoken and wasn't composed with music. In conclusion, Roman arts, especially sculptures, statues, bas-reliefs, mosaics, and music, have had a lasting impact on civilization today. We still use mosaics for walking surfaces and decorations, and we still use the Roman idea of placing art in a room based on its pattern. We still use statues and sculptures for both decoration and honoring an individual who deserves to be remembered. We use many of the Roman instruments today, and even some of their compositions and musical pieces.
Scores tied between you two, 400 to 400, and Chuck is in the lead with 500 points. I know about Roman paintings. Wait, I do! Did you know that much of Romans' art was intended for public education? Besides being in the public, a lot of Romans' paintings were also found in Roman homes. They could be found on the walls, the floors, and even in some doorways. Paintings on the walls were called frescoes, and they could depict pictures of animal scenes, garden scenes, gods, goddesses, and even some heroes. Besides the paintings of the frescoes, you could also see a lot of paintings of archways, columns, stairs, and shelves because Roman artists liked to make their painted objects appear real. Also, Roman artists had to accumulate their paint by themselves, so they used a bunch of natural resources that were available to them, such as animal sources, minerals, and vegetables mixed with oil, and that's how they get their paint. A period of acceleration of painting happened during the reign of Augustus, and a lot of great examples of paintings can be found in the city of Pompeii. Because when Mount Vesuvius erupted, it covered the city in a layer of ash, preserving much of the paintings and artwork that was there. Does anybody know about glassmaking and pottery?
No, wait.
I know about that too. Glassmaking and pottery was another huge component of Roman art. Potters were rarely out of work in Rome because of the high demand of all the pots. Also, potters were normally freed men or male slaves. Children learned the art of metalworking or glassmaking at an early age. They developed their skills through trial and error. Pots were made on a potter's wheel spun by hand. Then it was put in a kiln and cooked at high temperatures until it hardened. It was then rubbed with a resin-like substance until it became waterproof, and then corked with a stopper and sent where it needed to go. In some places, pottery was mass-produced. That's why there was so much of it in Rome. Broken glass was also collected and recycled, just like today's broken glass. Locally made pottery is normally cooking pots and mixing bowls, and the most commonly found object by archaeologists was a long clay vessel called amphorae. It came in many shapes and sizes, and it had a very unique shape because the end was pointed to be stuck in the ground to keep all the contents cool. A lot of farmers used this, and they used it to transport wine and oil all throughout the empire. Also, Romans used more glass than any other ancient civilization. They used glass for many common purposes, such as drinking and eating. Aw, thanks, guys. Does anybody know about Roman fashion?
No. Oh, God, no.
I do again! Romans had a very unique sense of fashion. The most common fashion wear was the white toga, and pants were not a common fashion style. Colored togas were worn to special occasions, and black garments were worn to funerals. Also, senators wore long white togas bordered with a purple trim. Children would wear a rounded charm around their neck called a bulla, and women would wear long ankle-length tunics called stolas, worn with a shawl called a palla. Women would tie their hair back in braids or tie it back with a fabric headband. Also, women would wear a lot of jewelry, and they would have a spice called saffron on their eyes as makeup. In conclusion, Roman art was a huge part of Roman culture, as it is to our culture. Roman artists influenced our artists a lot because they liked to use the same style of making things pop out. Our fashion changed a little bit from the white toga, but women still like to wear a lot of jewelry and a lot of makeup. Also, pottery and glassmaking is made the same way today as it was in ancient Rome. Thank you, and have a good day. Okay, so the scores are 500 to 400 to 400. This is the last question. It is a daily double, so whoever gets this will win it all. What is the most common Roman song? Oh! I got it! You in the middle.
Bad Romance.
And can you sing a little of it for me?
Caught in a bad romance.
Very good, very good. Okay, I will go get your puzzle.
No.
This is your prize. Come up here to receive it. Okay, the name is Petunia, so be careful.
Hello, Penny.
Penny, it's Petunia.
Hello, Penny.
Okay, second place winner was, I believe, you, Chuck. Here is your prize. And you get a signed poster of me. Wait. What is this? Today was a very inspiring show, and we will see you next week on Jeopardy!
Greek edition.
Have a nice day.